HBO is reported to be working on a Game of Thrones sequel series based on Jon Snow's character. And we can't help but think out loud about who the next evil villain is. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to Buzz Bites for exciting content like this. This is our top 5 villains who could be featured in the Game of Thrones Jon Snow sequel to battle it out with Snow. Number 5. The Great Other. One of the most criticized parts of Game of Thrones Season 8 was the short-lived long night and the relative ease with which the Night King and the White Walkers were defeated, especially considering the show had been promising the Great War since its pilot. The last fight of Game of Thrones was the Game of Thrones performed by Cersei and Daenerys, not the conflict with the undead. On the other hand, the Jon Snow spin-off has the potential to flip it by revealing that the Night King and its creations were only a part of a much larger evil. Number 4. Val. Several people in A Song of Ice and Fire do not appear in Game of Thrones, and one is tied to Jon Snow's story. Val, often called the Wildling Princess, was one of many people Jon Snow met while incarcerated with the Free People Behind the Wall. Val is considered fearless and capable of leadership, making her an intriguing character for Jon Snow to uncover. Val's presence after the end of Game of Thrones would have significantly altered her story, as she had been present since the second novel, A Song of Ice and Fire, but it may still work. Number 3. The Children of the Forest. The Children of the Forest are an important component of the Westeros mythos in Game of Thrones. But like with the Night King and the White Walkers, the show's resolution of their narrative raised more questions than answers. In response to the men who were destroying their homes, the Children of the Forest created the first White Walker, the Night King. They were thought to be extinct, but Bran ultimately came across a group of surviving Children of the Forest. Unfortunately, that group did not survive as well, yet it is plausible that there are still Children of the Forest in Westeros. Similarly to what happened 12,000 years ago, this remnant faction could attempt to construct a new, better-controlled White Walker to kill humanity, calling for Jon to intervene. Number 2. The Three-Eyed Raven. Bran made it clear to everyone, even the Starks, that he was no longer Bran, but a three-eyed raven. However, in the most contentious decision of the season finale, Bran became king at the end of Game of Thrones, raising the question of why the Three-Eyed Raven was interested in handling Westeros' politics. Even if there is no hidden meaning in Bran becoming king, Jon Snow's spin-off might use it to prove that the Three-Eyed Raven poses a threat to the world when he is granted the authority to control all of Westeros. The Three-Eyed Raven's ambitions have never been properly revealed, especially in the novel, making it an excellent concept for further investigation in the Game of Thrones sequel. This would not only make for an interesting clash between the brothers, but it would also improve the Game of Thrones ending in retrospect. Number 1. Daenerys Targaryen. After Game of Thrones ended, theories of Daenerys Targaryen being revived gained popularity. The Game of Thrones showrunners confirmed that Drogon took Daenerys to Volantis. Kinvara and other Red Priests like Melisandre stayed there, which meant that one of them could try to resurrect Daenerys. The Mother of Dragons would undoubtedly have many reasons to exact revenge on Westeros and Jon Snow. Given that the resurrection process may change a person's personality, Daenerys could be an even more dangerous villain in the Game of Thrones Jon Snow sequel. On the other hand, Emilia Clarke has stated that she is not participating in the project, making this alternative less plausible. Like every planned Game of Thrones spin-off except House of the Dragon, the Jon Snow sequel is still in its early stages of development, though Kit Harington's involvement and the importance of the character signal that it could become a reality soon. So, which of these villains do you think will make a formidable enemy and an interesting story? Let us know in the comments section, and we will see you in the next video.